ChristopherMedia.net.
There's a new Home Depot now open on Maurice Avenue in Maspeth. And as home improvement projects go, this is a big one. Use the product locator on our app for an in-store map to find what you need fast. And check out our new pickup lockers. They make online shopping a breeze. Of course, one thing's not new, our everyday low prices. The Home Depot, now open near Maurice Avenue and Long Island Expressway in Maspeth. And always open at HomeDepot.com. The Home Depot, how doers get more done. There's a new Home Depot now open on Maurice Avenue in Maspeth. And as home improvement projects go, this is a big one. Use the product locator on our app for an in-store map to find what you need fast. And check out our new pickup lockers. They make online shopping a breeze. Of course, one thing's not new, our everyday low prices. The Home Depot, now open near Maurice Avenue and Long Island Expressway in Maspeth. And always open at HomeDepot.com. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
Christopher Media, let's make some noise. Welcome to Beer Nuts, a weekly excursion into the world of craft beer, brought to you by MichiganBeerGuide.com. And now, here are the Beer Nuts.
Welcome to Beer Nuts, episode 177. Today we are going to taste some beer-flavored beers. How about that? We're going to be reviewing lagers and pilsners and crispy boys, as they say. So JR here in Corona de Tucson, Arizona, 103 degrees. Actually, it was, I think, in the upper 90s today, but usually in the hundreds. But my last Untapped check-in was a beer called Hops Party from Weathered Souls Brewing Company out of Texas. It was a double IPA. Pretty tasty. So we have two other beer nuts. We'll head to Los Angeles to introduce Steve V. Welcome back, Steve.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. My last check-in was from Nickel Beer Company. It's a microbrewery out of Julian, California, and I had their Take a Hike, and it was a pale ale, very good. And I also had tried their IPA, which was outstanding too. So if you're ever down in the southern desert, just east of San Diego in the mountains, look them up. They have some good stuff.
Good stuff there, and of course, we have a representative from the Mitten, state of Michigan. Welcome back, John Golden.
Hey there. My last Untapped check-in was a Oscar's Pardon Belgian-style pale from Haymarket Beer Company. Just a nice Belgian pale ale, Pilsen malt, Belgian yeast, and Amarillo hops with some more dry hopping and just a sweet-tasting beer. I did want to give a little bit of an extra Untapped check-in. I spent the weekend at a golf outing in Jackson, Michigan, and we stopped at a couple of breweries while we were out there. One was the Grand River Brewery. Had a couple of really great beers there. We also went to Albion Malleable Brewery in Albion, and they make some real dynamite beer though. So if you ever heading across the I-94 corridor between Detroit and Chicago, two definite stops to make.
Awesome. I've been to Grand River, but not Albion. But
yeah, Albion's about just like two, maybe 3 years old, but they really make some dynamite beer.
So there was a really good IPA that Grand River brewed with monkey in the name. Do you remember that is? Was it Monkey Mouth?
Monkey Mouth, yep.
Yeah, I remember that one. That was a really good one. Alrighty now, so never been a better time to join us with a beer because this is an easy one. Beer-flavored beer, lagers and pilsners. Some of the most difficult beers to brew, but kind of taken for granted because our fizzy yellow beers like Bud Light and Budweiser and Coors and some of the bigger names that aren't really revered by many craft lovers are in this category. But you know what? It does take a lot of skill and a lot of time and effort to make a good lager or pilsner. I'm sure John Golden can enlighten us a little bit later. But for now, I'm going to invite everybody to please join us in whatever you enjoy. Whether it is that Bud Light or Corona, whatever you're drinking is fine with us. We're not pretentious beer snobs. We just want to introduce more good people to more good beer. So I am going to go ahead and be selfish and kick it off because I had a really long day at work, marathon spreadsheet session today with a forecasting deal for my job. And couldn't wait to run to the fridge when it was time to record tonight. And the first thing I saw that fit the bill for this show is a beer from Tombstone Brewing Company in Tombstone, Arizona. Dear to our heart, we've had many. We've had brewers on. We've had Matt Brown from the brewery on. No secret, one of my favorite local breweries here in Arizona. Probably is my favorite brewery. But this was a particularly perfect choice for tonight because it is a Imperial Strata Pils, and the on the can it's in blue print with a hashtag hard facts Imperial Strata Pils. There's a story behind this beer, but what's important to me, it's 8.5%. You don't get many lagers that strong. Usually, pretty sessionable 4.5%, 5%. So before I taste this, I'm going to read what's on the can. It says, during the last World Series, our friend Ryan from Dark Sky Brewing made a bet with Weedy, he's the brewer at Tombstone. If it went to Game 7, Dark Sky and Tombstone would get together to brew the Imperial Strata Pils that Ryan wanted to brew. If it did not, Dark Sky and Tombstone would brew the classic American Pilsner Weedy would prefer. Weedy lost, but everyone ends up a winner thanks to the fact that his trophy of defeat is the crisp, elegant, intensely tropical lager you have in your hand right now. So there's actually a picture of a cell phone messages going back and forth between these two on the can. Pretty cool. But let's get down to what it tastes like. We had a little bit of fun before the show because I bought one of these gimmicky little devices that carve the top of the can out, and you can drink straight from the can. And I'm going to have John Golden go next because he has a nice critique on why you shouldn't do that. But curiosity killed the cat, and I saw this online. I had to have it. I ordered it. I will say I'm not really a huge fan yet, but I'm a novice. So I just need to maybe perfect how to use this and open the can without spilling half of it. That being said, let's talk about the beer because I'm thirsty. So I'm going to take a sip of this. You know what I'm going to do? I'm even going to pour it into a glass first because you really can't evaluate it properly. I'm sure John Golden would respect and agree with me there. So I just poured this in a glass. Very, it's nice and clear, nice effervescent bubbles, really healthy, about a half a finger head is not going away soon, which is impressive because I opened this thing at least 15 minutes ago. A very well-constructed beer, nice carbonation, nice, very light straw-colored beer as you would expect out of a Pilsner. So aroma is actually pretty interesting. It's that more complex than what you would expect out of a beer that appears this way. I'm definitely getting some tropical fruit, just subtle, not real strong, but definitely some hop influence. Don't really get much malt. More hops than malt, which I'm surprised at, but let's just take a sip. So you definitely get a nice hop bitterness on the finish in this. Nice little bit of just a very touch of sweetness from the malt when it goes in. Very, very enjoyable, very crushable at 8.5%. I could see you really probably underestimating the strength of this beer if you were going to drink a few out in the sun and on a hot day. It would creep up on you pretty quick at 8.5%. I think you could really probably, if you were to play beer pong with this, it probably would be a very interesting proposition because you wouldn't even notice. But it's actually very, very well constructed, solid. Really, I like that the little tropical fruit flavor out of it. It's just a light-bodied, pale, pretty darn good beer, and perfect for kicking off this episode and making me forget about that gargantuan spreadsheet with 20 different tabs on it that I completed today. So cheers again to Weedy and all our friends at Tombstone, Matt Brown. We love your beers, and this is no exception. Weedy, as much as he's known for his hazy IPAs, his true love, he trained to brew in Germany, and his true love, I know he really takes a lot of pride in being able to brew these beers as he was trained in Germany to do. And I'm going to turn it over to John Golden. I'm going to ask him first to critique my can opener doodad, and I'm also going to ask him. I'm going to ask him to explain just how difficult it is to brew a good lager or Pilsner. So, John, take it away.
Okay. So this can opener, I presume everybody's seen at least in ad form, it basically just takes the entire top of the can off. First of all, I find that kind of useless, since every good can has got a pull tab on it, and why carry something extra around with you when you have this no-tool convenience? But if you are going to do it, or if it's a novelty, or you're just somebody who collects bottle openers or something like that, go ahead and get one. But you should still, afterwards, pour your beer into a glass. And the reason is it's not so that you're not opening up the opening larger so you can drink it faster or easier. It's the act of pouring the beer. You're actually creating some head on the beer, and that's actually releasing the carbonation, which is giving you more aroma. So you get a better smell. When you smell the beer, you get better impressions on what the beer is actually smelling like, and you can pick up hop aromas, you can pick up esters or phenols or anything in particular that beer has to offer. And at the same time, you don't really want to drink all of that carbonation, because then you just end up being a big old belching machine. And you'll see that people who strictly drink out of bottles and cans and they don't pour it into the glasses, that they're going to burp more often than somebody who pours their beer in a glass. So that's my thoughts on those can openers. And the beer I have, which I'm going to use the normal, regular way, if you can hear that nice sound there. I'm actually going to review a Shorts Local Light. So first, I'll tell you what Shorts says about this beer. So it's a American light lager. It is crafted by Joe Short in 2004 to be, this is a quote, beer in its simplest form. So it's a bright yellow beer with effervescent aromatics of fresh malted barley and lager yeast. And it has soft, subtle flavors of malt, finish crisp and clean. And they say it's perfectly balanced for smooth and easy drinkability. So let's see if I agree with all that. Pour this in here. And I'm pouring it so that I want to actually get in pint glass about a 1 inch tall head, which is perfect what I have. I can smell the aroma on it. It is very, very malty. It does have a little bit of DMS, or kind of cooked corn, which is actually, for the style of American lager and American light lager, is acceptable. It's the only styles in the BJCP guidelines that DMS is considered okay. In every other beer, it's a flaw. But let's give it a taste. It's actually quite good. It's got some breadiness to it, but it's crisp, clean. Little bit of hops, but primarily kind of towards the sweet malty flavor. It's extremely clear. I mean, you would actually call it brilliant as far as the clarity of the beer. And the head that I poured a nice inch head on it is actually dissipated down, and there's just a little bit of bubbles clinging to the edge of the glass. So that little bit of head is not going to be something you're going to be hearing about later. Very good beer. And as far as the lager style, one of the difficulties that you have when brewing a lager is that it's fermented at lower temperatures than a normal ale. And you have to have much better temperature control, and you have to keep that temperature cooler. So you can't just set your fermenter bucket in your basement or your garage. You've actually got to have a fermentation chamber or something. A lot of people will use a keezer, and they'll just set it for their desired temperature based on the different yeasts have different temperatures they work best, and different attenuations for. If you want a higher ABV, then you're going to need something that has a little higher attenuation. But they're a lot more difficult to maintain everything right, and then you have to do cold crashes and stuff, and because they're also a very clear beer, and typically you want them to be, you can see right through them like nothing. So there's a lot of stuff that you have to do is to make sure that it's not cloudy or hazy. You basically, make sure you get all the particulate out from dry hopping, because this particular beer says it was dry hopped, so they had to filter it in some way, shape, or form to end up with a beer this clear. So, good beer. And apparently it's only 115 calories with 3 carbs. So this way I can actually watch my girlish figure. So what do we have next?
I'm next.
Steve is next. Just wanted to thank you for enlightening us. I've been out of the brewing scene for a little while, but I'm looking forward to, as soon as it cools off here, which here in the Tucson area, we've had the hottest July and hottest August in recorded time. So kind of glad that I'm not brewing now. It's but a couple more months it'll cool off, and I'll get in the electric brewing system and be back in business. And the one thing I am looking forward to is brewing a lager. I've never brewed a lager or a Pilsner. I wanted to get a Pilsner Urquell for this show, one of my favorite. I love a good Czech Pilsner with Saz hops, one of my favorites. But the one problem you have with Pilsner Urquell is it comes from Czechoslovakia, and it's hard to get a fresh one. But
and they come in green bottles, which is the worst thing to ship in.
Well, I think they make them in cans now, so I was just going to get them in cans because that preserves the beer better. But where I was going with this is the first lager I brew will be a Czech Pilsner, because that's one of my favorite styles. So let's let Steve, must be really, really dying of thirst. Let's let Steve go now.
I know, the whole time John was talking, all I kept hearing was blah, 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 beer, blah, 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 beer. But what one thing I can appreciate, though, or I'm glad I participate in this podcast, is I don't have the brewing background that a lot of the guys here on the podcast do. So it's always great to hear them explain things and the difference. And I mean, you can tell these guys know their stuff. So I'm also a participant, but also a fan. So I appreciate all the information that gets put out on these podcasts. So with that, I'll go into my beer. So tonight I am drinking a Bo Pils from East Brother. They're based out of Richmond, California, which is up in the Bay Area, just up above San Francisco. The can here, just reading off the description, it's a Bohemian style, golden with a lemony, noble hop character, light, grainy finish. I don't know how long this company's been around, but they said it's been around for some years. This is the first time I tried anything from them, so kind of excited. While John was educating us, I went ahead and poured my can to the glass. The initial pour, like I said, it's a good golden color. The initial head off of it was somewhat thick, not too bad, but it was very kind of like a soapy kind of head. So it dissipated quick, and there's just a few remnants left around the side of the glasses. Initially, the first smell is I do get that citrusy, lemony smell to it. Very mild as far as on the tongue, the taste. Not a strong finish. Most of your pills, you're not going to get that strong finish, as opposed to like an IPA or something like that. I don't get a lot of the lemony taste to it, though. The beer is very satisfying. Like I said, it's something. It's only at 5% on the alcohol content, so it is something light that you can enjoy. It's not an 8%er like JR's, but yeah, very distinct as far as the taste. It has that traditional taste of the Pilsners, but I think it kind of has its own flavor, and I think it's something that if you can search out and find, I think you'd probably enjoy that as I keep drinking it. But on their website, it says that they won a gold in the California Craft Brewer Summit, and they've also won a silver And they won it in a Czech style Pilsner for that gold, and then they won a silver in the Great American Beer Festival in the Bohemian style Pilsner. So, yeah, very good. I suggest, or if you can find it, like I said, get out and give it a try.
All right, awesome. So, sounds like a delicious easy drinker. I've already opened my second easy drinker. I'll talk about that shortly. Wanted to just mention a little bit of beer news. I've Z Beer Man, who's been very busy with his job, hasn't really been able to come on, but he does provide me with a lot of market intel, industry articles, and so forth. And the one that struck me the most was it's been kind of a tough time with the bars closing, because the bars and on-premise channel really helps build local craft breweries up. And now that people aren't going to bars as much, and in some states not at all, it's been tough for a lot of craft brewers. But there is a little bit of good news for a couple breweries, and Sierra Nevada is up 8% year to date, and their hazy little thing is up 60%. So that's a brand that's really thriving right now in this environment. And also the other one that's doing well is New Belgium. So some of your more mainstream brands like that, no secret that probably the ones that have great distribution in the chain stores are the ones doing well. But we're always going to have your back, local independent breweries. So encourage everybody to support your local independent breweries. Get curbside pickup or beer to go, and as they try to weather this storm. It's tough for a lot of breweries. So. That's really the only thing I really saw that would be of interest to us. There's some stuff about the seltzers and this and that and the other thing, but just tough times for some of the local guys. So if you have a chance, pick out one of your local favorites and give them your business. And while you're at it, leave a generous tip. People that used to be behind the bar attending, or not making what they once were, and you can help them out. That's what it's all about. Let's help out our beer tenders and our small local breweries. So with that being said, I'm going to conquer my next beer, which was a buddy of mine had a Bike for MS charity thing, and one of the beer groups I'm in was asking for donations, and with each donation you would get a chance to win a raffle of a box of beer and some stuff from the good folks at Left Hand Brewing in Colorado. And lo and behold, I won this year. So I did receive a nice 32-ounce growler, a really nice like a metal with insulated. It's an insulated growler. It's really, really nice that the brewery sent me from Left Hand, and then the gentleman that actually biked in the race sent me a box of beer from Texas. So one of the beers he sent me, even though this isn't from Texas, it's from Colorado, is a Left Hand Brewing beer. And thanks to Left Hand for supporting the cause, MS. Great cause, and my friend Cisco is the guy that participated in the race to raise funds for MS. So this particular beer is called Left Hand 1265 Pilsner. It's from our hand to yours on the can. It's 5.2% alcohol and 23 IBUs. It says crisp and lively with delicate citrus hops and light bready malts. So I've already poured this into a glass. Not going to use my cutter again after getting Mr. Golden's recommendation. And speaking of Golden, boy, is this lively. A lot of really tiny bubbles. Almost looks like a glass of champagne. But then when you go up to that big one-figure snowy head, as John said, when you pour the beer in, you get a much better head created. And man, this is just a great-looking beer. It's a straw-colored, very similar to the other one I had. On the nose, I don't get nearly as much like citrus on the nose as I did in the other beer, but I'm definitely getting a little mix of. I can taste the malt. Or I can smell the malt, excuse me. Not nearly as hoppy as the other ones. But let's take a sip of this. So just like the previous offering, you can tell it's not nearly as strong. It's a crushable, quenchable beer that you could really put a few of these down on a hot day. which we get plenty of here in Arizona. Good beer for here. I'm definitely getting that, ready Pilsner malt flavor, which, I love a good Pilsner malt, 2-row Pilsner in this thing. The hop bill is Sterling, Cascade, and Citra. I'm not really getting much of the Citra. It's more like a Cascade and, just subtle. It's only 23 IBUs. It's not going to blow your brains out, and nor should it. That's, IPAs do that. Pilsners are, but this is just a lovely crisp. Every sip I take, I just want to drink more of it. It's really, you got that little bit of sweetness from the malt and, not an overpowering hop presence, but it's there. Just a really good, crushable, well-drinking, easy-drinking beer. Certainly nothing negative to say about it. It is what it is. It's, I guess the best way to describe it is a crushable Pilsner. Well-constructed and perfect for a hot day in the desert. So shout out to Cisco for sending this to me and for raising funds for MS. Feels good to be a part of that. And I've donated a couple years in a row and very fortunate to actually win this year. That's not the purpose of entering that and supporting that cause, but it's a nice touch when you actually win one of these raffles. So thank you again, Cisco, and thank you, Left Hand Brewing Company. Great beer, 1265 Pilsner, highly recommended.
Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
Progressive presents The Sounds of the Old World. The year is 2019, and someone is getting up to use the bathroom at the stadium.
Excuse me? Excuse me? Oh, sorry. Excuse me? You mind if I just squeeze by here?
This has been The Sounds of the Old World. Brought to you by Progressive, where drivers can still switch and save like it's 2019.
Quote today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
There's a new Home Depot now open on Maurice Avenue in Masspeth. And as home improvement projects go, this is a big one. Use the product locator on our app for an in-store map to find what you need fast. And check out our new pickup lockers. They make online shopping a breeze. Of course, one thing's not new, our everyday low prices. The Home Depot, now open near Maurice Avenue and Long Island Expressway in Masspeth. And always open at HomeDepot.com. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
Yeah, sure, the players bring some skill to the game, but if I don't put them in my lineup, who cares? Not me. I'm Eric Rubino, fantasy baseball GM and league runner-up 2 of the last 9 years. I use the Progressive Name Your Price tool with options based on my budget. And for a guy that's used to being in control, it fits. Like this runner-up t-shirt. Champ gets a trophy, but you can't wear a trophy. Boom.
Get options based on your budget with Progressive, even if you're not a legend in your own mind. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
There's a new Home Depot now open on Maurice Avenue in Masspeth. And as home improvement projects go, this is a big one. Use the product locator on our app for an in-store map to find what you need fast. And check out our new pickup lockers. They make online shopping a breeze. Of course, one thing's not new, our everyday low prices. The Home Depot, now open near Maurice Avenue and Long Island Expressway in Masspeth. And always open at HomeDepot.com. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
ChristopherMedia.net.
So that's it for me. I guess we're back to John Gold.
Okay, second time through the order. So what I have here, and this is actually a Guayabera. It's made by Cigar City Brewing. And for those of you who don't know what Guayabera is, it's not a berry or any sort of a fruit like you might think. It's like, guava or something like that. It's actually a shirt. It's a traditional shirt that's worn a lot in Mexico and in Cuba and the Caribbean and the Dominican Republic, places like that. And it's it's either long or short sleeve, and it's known for having 4 pockets, like 2 on the chest and 2 like straight down below that, and some vertical pleats that go on the front and the back that run. A lot of times they'll go right through the pockets. Sometimes they'll go kind of right down from the shoulder, but it's kind of a very summery sort of shirt. Actually, if you watch any old 2.5 Men episodes, a lot of the shirts that Charlie Sheen is seen wearing on the show that look kind of like bowling shirts, those are actually Guayabera shirts. So they've made this this Citra Pale Ale. So I know it's not a lager, I know, but it's still a beer flavored beer because it does taste like beer. So Cigar City made this beer as kind of a tribute to the shirts that they like, and they made it strictly with the Citra hop, which is supposed to give you notes of tangerine, lime, and berries. And they say it's also going to be very dry and crisp, and it does have a moderate alcohol amount. And they say it reminds them it's refreshing, as functional as a crisp linen Guayabera. So I've already poured this, and it has a really nice fruity, citrus fruity aroma. And it's definitely, it's a little bit hop forward. And it's definitely all Citra. All the citrus fruits are in there. There's lime, there's orange, maybe in a little hint of lemon, maybe. Does have a nice malt backbone to kind of balance it out. The malt is it's a little bit on this sweet side, but not too sweet. Just a really actually good beer. It's true pale ale, I guess. It's a nice. I don't know if you guys can see this color, but just a nice yellow to gold color. I'd say probably a little more leaning towards gold. Taste this again here. Yeah, it's got a little bit of biscuity malt maybe in there. I'm kind of getting that flavor, but it's very dry. So it's like I drink it and it's like I'm immediately going, wait a minute, what did that taste like? I need another sip to remind me. So you could definitely pound a lot of these, and it's actually, I believe it's pretty low ABV. It's 5.5 ABV, so it's if you do it right, you can crush a bunch of them. But it's it lends itself to that refreshing, crisp, dry, nice summer beer. Go get your new shirt and sit out on the lanai and knock a couple of these back. So very good. So I guess we'll move on to Stephen again.
We'll move on to Steve. Just wanted to mention that, maybe this episode isn't the most glamorous of, beer styles, but again, it is one of the most difficult styles to brew, and it's probably the most popular style. Actually, it is unquestionably the most popular style in the world. And so I kind of figured when we did this episode, we wouldn't have like 8 people on because it's just not glamorous. But you know what? Really need to take a step back and recognize how tough this stuff is to produce. It's, when I was in Michigan, I could brew ales because I could ferment in my basement at 66 degrees year round. With lagers, you have to chill the beer to the recommended temperature for the yeast, and it takes a lot longer to brew. So a lot of time and effort, and so say what you will about Budweiser, but Budweiser, 2 things I'd like to give them credit for is, number one, making a consistent product all over the world, where you can get a Budweiser just about anywhere and it tastes consistently the same. And number 2, it is a very difficult beer to brew, and lager means longer, means aging in colder temperatures. So just wanted to mention that before Steve moves on to his beer. Maybe lagers are kind of like disrespected or overlooked, but you can't argue with success. I mean, it's the largest selling style and appeals to the most people. So for us, those of us in the craft world, it's really cool to have different, variations of this. I had an 8.5% Imperial Pilsner earlier, and then I had another Pilsner that was, more down to earth, and I got a grand finale coming up a little later. So, Steve, let's see what you have.
Okay. So my second beer is from the Enegren Brewing Company. They're brewers out of Moore Park, which is maybe about 40 miles north of Los Angeles in Ventura County. According to the website, the brewer first started brewing beer while he went to Loyola Marymount University in the dorm, and eventually moved back to Moore Park and continuously just kept brewing and getting bigger and bigger and bigger until to where they're at now. according to them, they concentrate on classic style lagers and ales. So I'm drinking their Edelpils. It's German style Pilsner. It's a 4.87. Excuse me, a 4.8. Sorry. Their description says Edelpils celebrates the glory of German noble hops against a background of the finest Pilsner malt. Refreshingly classic, Edelpils combines a lighter body with the bitterness and aroma of Saaz and Tettnanger hops. And I don't want to go into German talking because I never know what they're saying. So I poured it in, very clear, golden, kind of on the light side. The head was very, very thick. Thick head, but eventually it dissipated. But it's still there. It didn't dissipate like the East Brothers, where it was almost all gone. This one still has a little bit left. Oh, very nice. Yeah, that's really good. They describe it as an easy drinking summer beer, and it's just a hot bite, and I would describe that. It's a very mellow, very satisfying beer all the way through. It's a lot more mellow than the East Brother that I had. You can tell the difference between them. But they on their site they even put in there what different what you can do food pairings with. So they suggest pizza, burger sandwiches, sausage, and seafood. And I think this would pair great with some ceviche or something like that, or maybe a nice sea bass. But very, very good taste beer on this one. Not very light. It says bitterness, but I don't get it from it. It's very smooth. It says they use Hercules and that Tettnanger on it, but
Tettnanger is it's a German noble hop, used in a lot of the German style beers, and it's gives you a little bit of floral. But it's just actually a really nice hop.
I don't get a lot of floral on it, although, like I said, it's. I mean, there's nothing like just jumping out on it. It's very well balanced. I would say it's one of the most well balanced pilsners I think I've had in a long time. It's just very very smooth all the way through. But yeah, very, very good. They like I said, they concentrate a lot on the lagers and ale. So I wouldn't mind getting up and trying some of their other stuff. When I picked it up today at my local liquor store, he said that they do have some of the other stuff. But I said, well, I'll try this one and see how it goes. And I'm very, very satisfied. So I'm definitely going to be looking into seeing some of their other stuff in there.
Well, looking at the picture of it, and actually I thought it was a German import. Really cool, classic looking logo on there with the the like checkerboard.
Unique kind of blue and white checkered. Yep.
Definitely reminded me of a German import. So great cross section and stuff here. So. I'm willing to bet most of us this was probably our first sip of beer was one of this a lager or a pilsner. Almost ashamed to say that my dad's beer growing up, at least at one point, was Carling Black Label, which is kind of an inexpensive, known as like a cheap lager. But it's a good lager. It's a good lager. I mean, it's not. A lot of people don't write home about them. Again, craft beer aficionados have moved on to other more complex, interesting things, but it's nice to go back. One of the things I love to do about this podcast is revisiting styles that I overlook often, because it's always about the IPAs and the pastry stouts, and sometimes it's nice to just have one of these a beer flavored beer. What a concept! So
yeah, no, actually, it's like I want to say my first beers ever were Stroh's, which actually, if you go out now and you get the newer release, the Stroh's Bohemian Pilsner.
Oh, I've had it. Yep.
That's actually what Stroh's used to be until they started making it.
Have fun here.
Yeah, so they actually made that cheaper and cheaper and cheaper until it just kind of people stopped buying it and they stopped making it. And then they started making it again, and they came back with this special version. It's like that's what it used to be. And then actually one of my favorite beers of all times is it's a German Pilsner. It's the original Hofbrauhaus. And I don't know what it is about that beer, but it's like you take a sip of it and it's just like, oh my gosh, this is so great. But you can't really, it's very difficult to describe why it's so good. It's just, there's nothing, unique. It doesn't have some extraordinary weird kind of flavor. You're not going, oh, it's a barrel aged, or it's a milk stout, or it's got, it's super hoppy. It's just this perfectly balanced beer, and yet you just want to keep drinking it without really being, like I said, without being able to really say why it's so good.
Well, I'll drink to that.
All right, cheers.
Cheers. Prost.
Nastarovia Babinski.
So I'm going to wrap up this episode with a beer that was, as soon as we decided on this topic, this beer came to mind. This is a beer called Beer for Connoisseurs, again from our friends at Tombstone Brewing. This one's a little bit more sessionable at 4.7%, 37 IBUs. It's a lager from Tombstone, and so if you go to the Tombstone website, which is tombstone.beer, there is a blog on there that Beatty the brewer writes, and there's 2 different blog entries that you want to read about creation of this beer. But to make a long story short and not bore everybody, what his goal was to recreate a beer from the recipe of the original Michelob from 1896. So we've all heard of Michelob, when, at least when I was growing up, was a very popular beer brewed by Anheuser-Busch, same brewers as Budweiser. But Michelob has roots go back to Germany, and Wheaty did quite a bit of extensive research to try to find the original recipe, ran into some roadblocks, but made some headway along the way. And a couple of months ago, released a beer called Drears Bohemian Lager that was very close to it. But the one thing he had a hard time finding was the actual, to try to recreate as close as he could to the original yeast used in the making of the Michelob product. So what this is Beer for Connoisseurs is his final version of this, where he does get the yeast. So just going to read one paragraph from his blog. There's a lot more extensive information if you go on. Again, there's 2 different posts, but Beer for Connoisseurs is the beer we set out to brew when we had to change course due to yeast propagation delays when COVID hit, and we released Drears Original Bohemian Lager. Beer for Connoisseurs uses the same U.S.-grown Moravian barley malt and Czech Saaz hops, but the yeast strain that would have been used in Michelob rather than the yeast strain that Anton Dreher would have used in his Bohemian brewery. Tasting it now, it has all the attributes that I loved in Dreher's, the elevated level of bitterness, floral and earthy hop flavor, rounded Pils malt flavor, very soft feel, and combines it with even better drinkability and crispness. And I will say that this is a fantastic beer. I bought a 4-pack of this when it first came out, and the first thing I did was go back and get another 4-pack of it, because it has sold out everywhere now, which unheard of for a lager style, but it is that good. It does remind me of the original Michelob without the, what I would call a trademark Anheuser-Busch smell, and I can say that because I used to work at an Anheuser-Busch distributor when I was in college many moons ago, which got me started in the alcoholic beverage industry. But lacking that kind of unique Anheuser-Busch smell, this is just an unbelievably flavorful and perfectly brewed beer. I can't even tell you how clear this is. I'm holding it up to the camera for you guys. Hopefully you can see just how clear it is. It is crystal clear. Great effervescent bubbles, tiny bubbles coming up almost like a champagne. The head on the top is still here after I poured it, probably 10 minutes ago. Snow white head. When you the aroma on the beer is you get that nice Saaz hops. You can these aren't real, it's floral, but it's not like the overwhelming hops that you get in an IPA. These are more subtle, but really when you taste this, the first thing I notice is the soft mouthfeel. Just soft as a pillow, perfect mouthfeel, goes down so smooth, great flavor to it. It's crushable, but you won't want to crush this. You'll want to savor the flavor. It really is. And again, this is sold out everywhere. I can't find any more of it. So, beer for connoisseurs. Really cool project that Weedy took on to try to recreate. And again, he had another beer that released a few months ago or a few weeks ago, the Drears Bohemian Lager. I thought that was fantastic. This basically just uses a different yeast strain, and it was in his quest to recreate the original Michelob. I think, obviously a mass-produced Anheuser-Busch Michelob is nowhere near the quality of this, but I really shouldn't bash, because when I was growing up and before I was of legal age to drink, I can tell you I crushed a lot of those Michelobs with the gold foil tops, and they tasted pretty good, darn good out of my ice cold cooler that was in my trunk of my car. That was a different time. You probably can't do that now, but back in 1980, yeah. So I think it's a great beer to wrap the show up with. Again, Weedy, Tombstone, does a great job with lagers and takes a lot of pride in it. And my hat's off to you. You do a great job, my friend. And anybody that has a chance to visit Tombstone, go down to the brewery. They always have a good lager or Pilsner. They've got a Cochise County exclusive there, a beer that they usually have that you can order. Had a great Rauch beer from them recently. So, Weedy goes back to his roots. He was trained in Germany, and he loves those classic styles. And this is another example of his great work. So that's about it for me. I'm just going to, the frustration of that gargantuan spreadsheet is long behind me now. I'm feeling really good and enjoying revisiting beer-flavored beers. Anybody else? Any final comments before we head to Mexico City?
Well, it's always nice to, you look back and you were talking about how they reminds you of when you're younger and you're drinking these beers and at the time you thought they were great and then but nowadays with new styles and people are kind of improving the style of it. It's kind of like King Diamond's version of Am I Evil? That was great. Then Metallica comes out and hey, well that's pretty good too. So they're both good in their time, but there's always room for improvement in places, and I think nowadays, like I said, you can go back to these beers and you do see like they are a lot better than what they were before.
Hey, that's a great analogy. Am I able? Love that.
Actually, well, like I said, I don't necessarily want to say that they are as good, because there was a long time ago, like I was mentioning with the Strohs. And this also happened with, I think I mentioned in a previous episode, with Schlitz, where they just started making the beer cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, trying to save money, make more profits, and they, used didn't use as much quality grain, or they switched away from all grain completely and started using adjuncts, which is actually, that Super Bowl commercials with it, Bud Light did with the, hey, Miller, here's your delivery of corn. It got sent, corn syrup. It got sent to us by mistake. Well, they do use corn syrup in their beer. It's true. But the thing that Budweiser doesn't say during that commercial is that they use rice as their adjunct. But all these companies started making their beers cheaper and cheaper, and they got away from these good tasting beers, and people started buying actually the Bud Lights and the Millers and the things like that because they were consistent, and they didn't, they were still producing decent tasting beers. Whereas Schlitz and Stroh's, theirs were just getting worse and worse and worse. And they've come back and gone back to their original formulas, original recipes, and now they've got some great beers. But not everyone has done that. There's some beers that maybe are gone forever just because of, that fact that they like, oh, we got to make more profit. We're not competing. We'll make it cheaper. But one thing you got to say is a good quality product kind of sells itself. If it's junk, people stop buying it.
Amen. And, great Pilsners and lagers are making a big comeback. There are some breweries that focus solely on those styles. And most breweries have one or two that they put out. So, and it's, the other thing to mention, it's a great gateway beer. If you have a friend that maybe is not into craft beer and they drink Bud Light or Coors Light or something like that, why not give them a craft beer in it and make them feel like it's a good gateway to introduce them to the craft world, and maybe they'll find that a next level beer that appeals to their their palate. And that just encourages them to try more good things, which leads us back to our motto of our show. We're just introducing more good people to more good beer. So probably a good way to end the podcast. So thanks everybody for listening. Please find us on Instagram and podcasts. I've been putting a lot more Instagram posts out on our beers, and even in between episodes, if I have a good beer I want to share with everybody. So check us out on Instagram, Beer Nuts Podcast, at Beer Nuts Podcast on Twitter. Send us an idea for an episode or maybe a beer you want us to review. And brewers, send us your beer. Just send us a note, and we'll review it on the podcast. So always enjoy trying new things. So time to head to Mexico City. Thanks everybody for listening. As they say in old Mexico City,
AMF.
Hey, what do you want to da-da-da? I don't know. What do y'all think we should da-da-da? Well, what did we da yesterday? Yesterday. All the dolls feel like the same doll these days. I know. Like, is today Monday or Tuesday? Today is Thursday. Oh, no, I forgot to call my mom on her birthday. Oh, no.
These days, nothing is normal and everything is weird. But you could still save big when you switch to Progressive. That won't change. Not today or any day.
Quote today at Progressive.com.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
There's a new Home Depot now open on Maurice Avenue in Masspeth. And as home improvement projects go, this is a big one. Use the product locator on our app for an in-store map to find what you need fast. And check out our new pickup lockers. They make online shopping a breeze. Of course, one thing's not new, our everyday low prices. The Home Depot, now open near Maurice Avenue and Long Island Expressway in Masspeth, and always open at HomeDepot.com. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
ChristopherMedia.net